one.
Hello, everybody. Oh, wow. I actually
Hi,
managed to get
everyone.
the cameras going correct here.
Sweet.
I don't know if the on-screen chat is working right now. OBS was being weird for me last week when we were doing the X2 stream, and what do you know? It's being weird again this week. So I'm going to have to
Hmm.
fix some stuff before tomorrow. But hello, everybody. I am Zach, and with
I'm
me, as
Arash.
always,
Hi.
except for
Yeah.
last week when he was 10 minutes late, uh, is Arash.
Yeah. Yes, sir. That's right. I wasn't late this time, even though right before this I was kneading bread like really fucking fast.
I looked at the time and I was like, did he forget? Did he forget?
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
and then I looked through our chat and I was like, he said he was excited to discuss this episode, so
Mhm.
I don't think
Yeah.
he fully forgot.
I was just trying to get the gluten assimilated. Zach, you know how it is. You used to work in a pizzeria
Yeah, we
a
didn't make dough
long
from
time ago.
scratch though.
Okay, but like right now I'm taking on that hobby because, I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
make naan
Well,
bread forever.
well, I know from Malia's short-lived sourdough phase. It
Sour
lasted
dough
like
face.
3 weeks, and
Did she
one
actually
loaf
make
of
a pretty
bread.
good one?
There
No.
was one loaf of bread that was made, and it wasn't great. It did not turn out.
Wait,
I
the thing
also
with
forgot to
baking it,
turn
it
off the
just got to
heat.
keep at it.
But we are not here to talk about bread. We're here to talk about Daredevil Born Again, episode 8.
Hmm.
I forgot what it was called. I think it's like Lonely Island. No,
Isle
not
of Joy,
Isle of Joy. Lonely Island is
yeah,
Andy
is the
Samberg's
band.
comedy
Yeah.
troupe. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, but this episode was a return to form, in my opinion. It was back to. I didn't really care for last week's episode, and I feel like that's not an unpopular opinion to say.
No, no. We still get people talking about it in our comment section. Muse is dead. Muse isn't.
Well, the
You
thing
know.
with that is, and I think I said it last week, we know that
Hmm.
Muse is supposed to return in season 2. However, it was not conveyed in the actual storyline that Muse is supposed to return. So that's why I didn't find it satisfying.
Hmm. It's the old hey, you guys aren't supposed to know this information yet. Spoilers kind of deal. Like they
That
still have to give us some level of suspense.
Yeah, they needed to leave off with like some kind of we could hear him breathing or we heard his heartbeat. We said all of this last week though. We are past
Yeah,
the
we did.
Muse storyline in this week's episode.
No, but we got to some great, finally going back to Bullseye stuff this time around.
Yeah, and this is what leads me to believe that this is definitely post the creative overhaul because
I think
because of Bullseye
people
being
keep.
in this.
Wait, really? Did they not include Bullseye in the first draft initially?
Well, so the original show itself wasn't really going to connect with the Netflix show.
Hmm.
It was
Okay.
going to, they weren't going to completely write it off as like, oh, this didn't happen, but like Deborah Ann Wall wasn't supposed to return, Eldon Henson wasn't going to return. John Bernthal was asked to return, but he was like, I don't like the direction you're taking this because you're kind of taking everything we worked on Netflix and throwing it in the trash without doing that.
So they wanted to make like a cheap knockoff, or did they just kind of want to do their own thing?
They wanted to make it a continuation, but they also didn't want to make the Netflix show like mandatory watching, which is kind of the balance that I think they hit with the show we ended up getting.
I get it. Oh,
But
Zach, there's like a staticky sound coming from your mic right now. I don't know why.
right this second, right now,
Yeah. Oh, nope. You fixed it. There we
yep,
go.
I must have accidentally knocked something out of place. But
Well, you
yeah,
knocked it back into place. So that's good to know. I keep seeing online that episode 1 and 8 and 9 are like mainly new post creative overhaul, and then everything else was just what they had, and they just kind of Frankensteined it into the season, right?
so now we don't have the full story of what happened, but this is what I believed like actually happened. So they had the show. I think they filmed 6 episodes worth of the
Okay.
show. That was originally going to be the 18 episode Daredevil Born Again that they announced in 2022. But
Hmm.
when they were filming it, they reviewed the footage during the writers and actors strike because filming was cut off anyways. Decided it wasn't working. Got rid of the showrunners that originally envisioned this season, and they brought on, I think it's the showrunners of The Punisher. I'm like
Uh,
only 80% sure that that's correct. I think it's the showrunners from the Punisher series.
is it definitely somebody from the Netflix era?
Yeah, but it wasn't anybody that was connected to any of the seasons of Daredevil. I'm gonna look that up
Were they
right
just
now.
not interested in coming back, or was there just some like
There
behind
were
the scenes
different
stuff?
showrunners for different seasons of Daredevil. They didn't
Really?
have, because it was Stephen DeKnight did the first season,
Hmm.
and he did I want to say it was Pacific Rim 2, I think is one of the movies he made.
Steve. Oh yeah, Pacific Rim Uprising and
But
all of
he did more
Spartacus.
than that. He did a lot of work on TV that was like really
Yeah,
really beloved.
Spartacus, and it looks like he's. Oh, he might be like involved with God of War, but that's like still like early stages, so we might not even know.
Maybe I'm
Interesting.
wrong about that. For some reason, maybe I read a comment and I was like, "Oh, that's probably true." No, the guy who did the Punisher is doing Spider-Man Noir right now.
Oh,
I don't know where I
well, I
got
guess
that
that should be pretty
information
good.
from. This is why you don't this is why you don't take information out of YouTube comments, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's so my interpretation of what happened was they filmed the episodes, they decided some things weren't working, but they didn't want to scrap what they already had. So they hired new showrunners, reintroduced the Netflix characters, which is where we saw a lot of the season 1 bit. I think most of the episode 1 moments were reused from that original version of the show, but they just like added the bookends. They added the additional dialogue in there that mentions Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, all of that.
And the intro scenes where Foggy gets
Yeah.
shot. That's all them.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was all them, and this episode was directed by the same directors of the first episode, and you can tell
Oh
they
yeah,
have a they have a
yeah,
very clear style that works very well with Daredevil, and
yeah.
I think they
The
should
the
they should be the ones
oh,
that are
in
steering
charge.
the ship right now.
You really keep like highlighting the aspect ratio changing to highlight Matt's hearing, and I think that's brilliant as well because that's one of his powers is the hearing part.
Well,
I don't think we got really a lot
it's
of
not
it.
even just the fact that they did it. It's the way that we had previously seen, and I don't know if you watched the video I made where I included that little
Hmm.
bit of the world on fire view.
I saw it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
saw what you did.
it never worked for me.
You said that the one from the Daredevil movie kind of worked too, but the hearing bit is like a good middle ground there.
Yeah, so the Daredevil movie makes it more echolocation based. Like they straight up say echolocation, I think, in the movie. And it's like
Hmm.
that idea, the visual worked for me, but it does look dated now. With the aspect
It does.
ratio change and doing everything in camera, it works a lot better because one, it's never going to be dated, and two, it's just a more interesting way to demonstrate those abilities.
It's also a great way to save on CGI.
That too, but also I can imagine I was looking at it from a filmmaking perspective. Like doing those lens changes is it on the fly the way they did, not super easy to do unless you're getting some digital assistance, which
Mhm.
they are. So it's like it is saving money VFX wise. It's not saving time though.
What so I know they went from the cinematic panorama view, right? That's the classic 23 by 19, I think. And then they went into the higher aspect ratio, which is like fuck, I don't know which one that was. When they were like Matt's zooming in and then they like close in on Dexter and it's like super thin. I don't know what that one is called.
Well, so I can't think of the name
Super
of
wide
it, but
angle.
when it goes to the full aspect ratio that you were talking about, the lens of the
Mhm.
camera completely changes. It
Right.
it goes to Matt is in focus, but everything around him is shot with a fisheye.
Oh, okay.
And then when they do the change again, that's when they're you could tell that's when they're switching lenses for the camera. But also,
Okay.
I don't think they're doing that entire sequence fully in camera. There's a lot of digital work that goes into that too.
Yeah. They'd have to get a camera that can switch in lenses internally, and I think that'd be more expensive than just probably what they did.
Well, I think that it is probably what they were doing, but it was just a little bit more like, oh, we have to sync up all of these different things happening at once. It would be a lot easier if we had a second unit director filming this, and then we just kind of composite all of the footage together.
Which works. It worked. It looked great.
It did, and you know what? I haven't read the comment in a while, but when I first praised it, I saw somebody say something dumb like, "Oh, I can't believe they had that little beam of light guiding what Matt was hearing." And it's like, that's not what that is. That is not a beam of
No.
light guiding what he's hearing. That is called a lens flare. That is light hitting the camera lens.
Something that they could probably paint over, but they don't because it adds to the cinematic quality of it. I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
people are complaining about J.J. Abrams adding lens flare every time.
well, so what J.J. Abrams does with his lens flares is like an exaggeration of what Steven Spielberg used to do with them, where Spielberg used them to like kind of keep his effects hidden a little bit. J.J. Abrams just has it every time the camera moves even slightly. There's giant lens flares that hit the camera where it's complete white.
You're right. I think I remember seeing the first Star Trek, and it was just insane, and
Oh,
then he had to
it's
tone it down
egregious
by
in the
the end.
first Star Trek.
Oh
I
God.
like that movie, but as far as this episode of the show, though, we have the plot. We have the aftermath of Muse being killed by Heather. I almost said by the cops, but no, Muse was killed by Heather after Daredevil
Mhm.
laid the beatdown on him, and
Yeah, she capped his ass.
Heather is not too thrilled with the fact that Daredevil even showed up.
No, she goes into Matt a little bit, and I dig that in my video earlier today, where she just makes the important note that like him and Muse, in her eyes, are the same person. They're just out there doing their thing together, and that's interesting because like you know Daredevil comes in, saves you, and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of audience members would be like, "Ah, shut up, bitch! He was saving you." But from her angle, like there's a lot of destruction going on. She had to be put in a thing where she didn't have to, and then Daredevil comes in, and they're enabling each other essentially.
But also, I want to take what so you mentioned specifically. She views them the same way, and that
Hmm.
kind of leans towards the conversation Matt has with Bullseye later, and kind of the decisions he makes up until the conclusion of the episode. So
Right.
she says to him directly, like, Daredevil and Muse are the same. Matt's like, no, they're not. Daredevil was trying to save you. You know, like, he knows what Daredevil was trying to do, but I don't think he understands the public perception of Daredevil at this point because people watched Daredevil throw a guy off of a building.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they did. He even though like during the BB report it's reported initially that Daredevil came in and saved, and she had to erase that because, Daniel Blake was kind of getting on her ass about it.
Yeah.
I think that people are still like uneasy. Like, or if I remember during the first couple of episodes, like the vigilanteism is kind of the public's a little about it because they're just like, it's you're walking down the street, all of a sudden a bunch of guys are fist fighting in front of you, and then someone gets shot. It's
So
it's essentially.
I haven't seen anybody
Mhm.
talk about this yet, but you bring up a good point. How BB is running an alternate account somewhere where she's posting
Yeah.
information. Do you
Hmm.
think she's going to like they're gonna because they didn't show the name? Do you think that they're gonna try and be like, oh, this is I can't even think of a character she could be where it's like, oh, this is this the MCU interpretation of this character or something like that.
Do we have like a famous blows off the wall like investigative journalist person in the comics? Like
I can't think
that's
all of the ones that I could think of have already been introduced. So
well then.
I'm gonna have to do some digging and find out who she could
If you
be.
find anything, that's a good video.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, so the main focus of this episode is the aftermath of Muse being killed and Fisk kind of reeling in his task force. And as you mentioned in your video, it's kind of the beginnings of martial law.
Yep.
Everybody
When
at
a
the
when a guy like
yeah,
yep. When a guy like that, like Fisk, as I highlighted in the video beforehand, where I initially introduced the theory, uh, we see him constantly struggle this entire season trying to do it legit. And as we see full on in this episode, he sends his task members after a guy, part of the press, and they fry his hand. Like mob style, fry his hand. Does that seem like the actions of a guy? And he probably said, do whatever you need to do. Does that seem like the kind of guy that wants to do everything by the book anymore? It doesn't necessarily seem that way.
yeah,
He's
and
threatening people. He's, swordsman. I think he was threatening to oust his ability or his thing. Mob boss. He's basically relegating back into his mob boss lifestyle like we saw in the past two episodes.
but also it's being motivated. And the first big event of the episode is which also I think well, I'm just gonna say it, I was right, and I knew I was right
You're
about
right.
Vanessa being part of that setup to kill Luca. As
Yeah,
soon
you
as
were
they
right. You
mentioned
got
that,
me
I
on
was
it.
about to text you, and then I was just like, no, I'll wait until we're live.
You got me on that one.
Because there
And
were a
people are
few
still like posting videos.
Yeah, there were a few comments that I read where everybody was like, no, he's gonna kill her. He's definitely gonna kill her. I'm just like, that, no, absolutely not. She was part of this.
If anything, that kind of the bit in this episode, the beginning bit where he brings her down to see Adam and then she just pops him right in the fucking face, that cements it. Cause she's just like, I'm loyal to you. I will even kill my former lover who you have chained up in the basement.
So
This is
I read
psychopathic
this a
behavior, but
different
she's
way.
indulging it.
I read this
Really.
a different way. I read it as Vanessa being like, "Oh, Fisk has gone soft. He's soft at this point." Like that's not what I'm interested in. I liked the powerful guy that came into my life when I had like very little, and now I have all of this power. And what is he to me? He has nothing. Then she sees, oh wait, he's been like withholding this extremely violent edge, and she kills Adam as like a show of faith of saying, I'm with you. I'm glad you did this almost. Like I
Right.
did this to get your attention.
TB Pooper says, yeah, but he deserved it for taking the pictures. In our comment section. Are you referring to the reporter that gets his hand fried, or are you referring to Adam? Is Adam the photographer?
No. Talking about the journalist that got his hand fried.
Ah, okay.
I think what she's saying is she's not saying he deserved it because he took pictures with a purpose
Mm-hmm.
of like getting this information out there. She was saying like, yeah,
Right.
he was being an idiot. He shouldn't have like done that to himself. Basically, he
Right.
totally gave away what he was doing.
Oh yeah. Flash in public, bro? Come on. Come on. Especially to a former mob boss? Come on. Come on, you gotta be smarter than that.
But
You gotta
also,
be.
you have to keep in mind who she was talking to at the time. She assumed that the chief of police was in on this whole thing.
Yeah,
It's only
but
in
it
that
turns out he's not
conversation she had
necessarily.
with him that she found out that, like, oh, he's separate from this and he wants to help me.
Do you remember the commissioner of the police who came in and said, "Unhand that man"? He's like, "I don't gotta take shit from you." It it kind of gives me like that sense of like even the people internally are starting to buckle to Fisk now, especially like everyone knows if you go into that room with him, you're gonna get shaken down, or you're gonna get exposed, or you're gonna get punished in some way.
Well, the thing
Did you
is,
notice that?
this is what I was getting from this. The Elite, who we saw a couple episodes ago and then reappeared in this episode at the gala again, they were
Yeah,
already familiar with Fisk. They weren't afraid of him anymore because he was mayor and because he had those restrictions of, like, you're not just going to kill me anymore. But now they
yeah,
feel
you
like,
can't.
oh, you have something over me. So I am instantly just, like, terrified to speak up, basically.
I noticed that like that blonde lady who's like speaking down to him like you mentioned. I was wondering what does he have on her specifically, or is there just the because of the task force being
It's
surrounded in the
because of the
building?
task
Like,
force, I'm pretty sure.
got it. Okay.
But
Oh, and DB
also,
Pooper clarifies deep
yeah,
fried guy.
yeah, and that's the
Deep
the
fried guy.
other thing is that it has to be the task force because before he had nothing on these people. He only had something on the police commissioner because he had a secret family or, like, whatever the hell was going on with the pictures he was taking.
I imagine it was just a secret family. Yeah.
I assumed so too.
Loud ass shutter too. Yeah, he was trying to get caught. How are you a journalist nowadays and you don't know how to sneak a photo? Come on, dude.
But also, it's like how loud his phone volume must have been, like, connected to the Bluetooth or something.
Ridiculous. He made every stupid mistake you possibly could have when you're trying to take a photo dressed up as a waiter in a gala where press are not invited. Dude took every wrong step. You know what? I agree with DB Pooper. He should have. I hope he enjoys his deep fried hand. Fucking now that I think about it, it's starting to piss me off.
From a photographer's point of view, yes, absolutely.
from
Fuck
a
that guy.
from a media production person's point of view, like just on that, dude, like you have to fuck up real bad. You were intentionally trying to get caught. Does he just have a kink?
I bet he also has the keyboard sounds turned on his phone.
Oh my god. Ah. But anyway,
So continuing the plot of the episode, we'll get to the
yeah.
gala moments. Like, we've
We'll get to
touched
it.
on them
There's
here
just
and
so
there.
much that happens in there. We just have to dig through it.
There is. So Matt Murdock returns to the office, immediately runs into like, really goes head to head with Kirsten, who we haven't seen too much of this season, aside from here and there she'll show up. It's his partner who was originally
McDuffie.
yeah.
McDuffie and Murdoch, yes.
Yes. But I felt like that I had to look up the name when I was thinking about it earlier because I was like, I can't even remember this character's name. She's been on screen so infrequently.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Zach. As soon as you said Kirsten, I was like, "Who the fuck is Kirsten?" And I had to look her up. I was like, "Ah, yes, the lady whose name I forgot, but yes, she was on screen infrequently. Only set Matt up with Heather, and then has to talk to him about certain cases and stuff like that, and then she just kind of disappears."
Which I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat when we get to the next big part. So basically,
You were
there's
texting
still
me about that, yeah.
yes, I was. There's a lot of friction between the two. There has been the entire season, really. And then from there, does Matt go back to Josie's right after?
I think he does.
Okay.
I think he like mentioned something. Then he had to go back to Josie's, and then he like pieces together the whole dumb Benny thing.
Yeah. We will we'll talk about that. But what I will also say is What do you think? What have you thought of Cherry as a character this entire season?
Cherry just kind of pops up whenever Matt needs him to. He's like very specific to the plot. He's not involved in anything and he's not doing his own side quests. He just kind of pops up whenever Matt needs someone to talk to and someone to like push back against and be like, "Hey man, I know you're Daredevil or something, but you can't do this or you can't be like this or you got to do that." He's always like the back and forth character. He's like Matt's, what is it called? Like his little confidant, but that's his only role in the show, and then he just fucks off until Matt needs him again.
But what I will say is that I felt like he's a pretty nothing character the entire season, and it was kind of disappointing that they got rid of the other cop character that was in the original series of Daredevil, their friend Brett, who they grew up with, and probably would have been a lot more interesting in a role like this.
A lot of people got clipped. Yeah.
Yeah, but I felt like this was the first episode where I actually was like, oh, Cherry is like doing something here. Like this conversation is really great. They needed more conversations like this throughout the entire season. And I understand that we did have that creative overhaul, so they can't really go back and fix things like that. But I really liked him here. And that's where we get the big revelation of the episode.
But hopefully that, hopefully that if the writers are seeing also what we're seeing and they take some of the positive stuff, they might implement that into season 2. Although I'm assuming the script's already been locked, so they're shooting.
Scripts are locked.
Of course.
Yeah, they're in the middle of filming.
Yeah, well, it's the MCU. Scripts are never technically locked.
Well,
reshoots
with the TV shows, I think it's a little different, just because this is like an actual they are filming things on locations, whereas with the Avengers movies, it's all on a soundstage. They can change whatever they need to in post.
Hence why we've seen some of Matt's new suit on the season 2 thing, and why we got to be careful with what we see online, because we can discern a lot from those.
Exactly. But we get the big revelation of this episode, which is the fact that Matt learned Foggy was celebrating the night he was killed, celebrating early because he knew he was going to win the case, which leads to Matt putting the pieces together that somebody hired Bullseye to kill Foggy rather than Bullseye just coming back to get revenge on the 3 lead characters of the prior show.
Yeah, Bullseye doesn't really give him any shit neither. He if we're talking about Matt piecing that stuff together, it's like old school, like, wait a minute, this and that and the other thing. Out of all the conversations with the police investigation, you don't think Matt would have run into this thing earlier? Or no?
No.
Was it just that specific interaction at the bar?
Yeah, well, he never found it because he didn't know what Foggy was drinking. And that was like their celebratory. They mentioned it a couple episodes ago when he wins the Ayala case. He was like, oh, this is what Foggy and I drink every time we would win a case. And he knew he was close to winning that case, but, something happened. Something got in the way. He died. Died.
Yeah. V. Francisco Ramirez D said, somehow Matt didn't know that Foggy was there to celebrate. Now, the thing is,
Foggy does specifically say to Kirsten that he was celebrating early, and he was going to go back over to Matt and Karen with a glass of I can't remember what the whiskey was that they were drinking, but he was going to go back over there, but then he gets the phone call.
Oh yeah, and then he has to take it away and tries to not let Matt suit up because Benny sounds like he's in trouble. And then we never see that guy online, or we never see that guy on camera. But he's a pivotal character for some reason because he's involved in Foggy's death, but he's giving his location over to Bullseye basically, but we never see that guy again.
To answer the question in the chat right now, Matt wouldn't hear it with his senses. Matt's not hearing everything around him all the time. He has to focus into specific conversations that he's having. He was talking with Karen at that time, just like how we saw in this episode when he was speaking to Heather. he was listening into Fisk and wasn't hearing what she was saying. His powers
Yeah.
aren't the ability to hear everything
Hear
at once.
everything all at
It's
once.
hearing things at a distance when he focuses in on it. It's more of an ability like that. The reason he was focusing in on Foggy was because Foggy got up and walked out. He could hear Foggy's footsteps. Like, that is part of his senses. It would be like if I saw somebody get up and walk away, and I'd be like, well, what are they doing? I wouldn't know what they were saying unless I walked over there, but Matt doesn't need to do that.
I think I made a boys video about that where like we were saying couldn't Homelander hear everyone's conversation all the time? And then the simple answer was just like, well, they're still kind of human. Like you're not paying attention to every single little thing around you. You have to focus in.
Yeah, the only character I can think of that might be able to do something like that is somebody like Charles Xavier, who is able to, he's not just hearing though. He is perceiving everybody simultaneously.
And able to filter those thoughts and go through them.
And even with that, there's range to it. But yeah, this gets me into my theory of the episode, kind of. Well, first of all, we find out that somebody hired Bullseye. So we found out earlier in the episode from Kirsten that Bullseye wants to speak with Matt. She told him that. So Matt goes to visit Bullseye, and this was a great scene. I loved everything Matt had to say. This is Charlie Cox's finest acting here.
Yeah. Charlie really wanted to. He's really good when he's angry. Have you noticed that? Like when he was talking to Punisher and he was trying to play the whole like he's barely holding back all of his emotions kind of deal before he exploded and said he got life. That kind of thing. And also the ending of season 3 where he's like just yelling in Fisk's face and being like, I beat you. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much testosterone.
Charlie Cox gives like one of the hardest F-bombs I've seen in something in a while in that scene with Bullseye. It was awesome. To answer the question, how did Matt sense Poindexter? He's not. If you were in a room where music was playing lightly, you're having a conversation with somebody, and you hear something loud and different from what you would hear, such as a bullet entering the chamber of a gun, which is what he heard. Like, immediately, you would be like, oh, what's that over there? It's not just... So, when you're having a conversation with somebody, you have to think about it in terms of your own senses, just heightened. It's not so much as... Sorry, what was that?
It's like whenever you're in a familiar space like your own house and then you hear like a sound coming from outside or down the street and then you're just like tuned up, you're like, oh, whoa. Matt, being Daredevil, has probably heard guns locking and loading, clicking in, being loaded and shit like that plenty of times that it's almost like somebody blowing a whistle for him. He automatically knows when a gun is being like loaded into or being ready to fire. So I imagine he tuned in pretty quickly to that.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between being able to focus in on two different conversations at the same time and hearing an unusual noise in the middle of having a conversation with somebody else.
Yep. So, yeah. It's the best we can do it,
Yeah. But in addition, after his confrontation with Bullseye, where Matt doesn't really find anything out, the two just kind of yell at each other, and you made a video about this if you want to explain it.
Mm-hmm. Where so Bullseye tells Matt, he's like, isn't that what good men do? They like in a different world you'd be protecting me, like isn't that what good men do, even defending their worst enemies or something along those lines, if I remember that line correctly. And that kind of coincides with Matt jumping in front of Fisk's bullet earlier. That's the thing that that's the thing that Bullseye's pretty great at. Like his character specifically is so good at getting under Daredevil's skin. Well, very specifically.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this character is he is somebody who suffers from BPD, which is
and OCD.
Yes. And one of the things, he killed Matt Murdock's best friend. That
Hmm.
is all he knows. That is going to be something that will consistently bother him. Um, and you pointed out the fact that he said, like, if you were a greater man, you would be defending me because that's what great men do, is defend their worst enemies, which is something we saw Matt do in Daredevil season 3, which was defend Fisk from Bullseye. Now, the question is out there on whether or not Bullseye knows Matt Murdock is Daredevil. I feel like it's pretty. It
Very
seems pretty
obvious.
clear that he knows, but he just doesn't want to say it because it's too. It's the mind game. He's having too much fun, like fucking with this dude's mind, basically.
I was expecting a "you killed a good man." Yeah, that. If we were playing bingo, I probably would have that on my card. If we were playing with that scene, I half expected that to come out of his mouth. I'm like, "You killed a good man." Yeah, there we go. But
But that also ties
so
in with what Heather was saying earlier. It's all
mhm.
building up to Matt taking a bullet for Fisk. Heather tells him that she doesn't see a difference between Daredevil and Muse. Bullseye tells him, you're not as great as you think you are, because if you were, you wouldn't be talking, you wouldn't be acting this way, basically. You would be
Yeah,
defending even your worst enemy because that's the guy you were before.
but not the guy he is now. Like I explained in the video, Matt's kind of evolving into a more brutal version of himself. Foggy's death kind of echoes like how Andrew Garfield said after Gwen's death. He's getting a little bit more vengeful. He's getting a little bit more. He's not pulling his punches anymore. He's straight up just choking Muse out. Did you notice that? I was like, oh, hey, is
Yeah.
he? Is he
Well,
gonna
well,
kill him? Is he trying
that's
to kill him?
the turnaround of this season was he stopped being Daredevil because he went too far. He crossed that road. All of this stuff was bringing him back into becoming a different version of Daredevil than he was before. The law isn't working. His best friend was killed because he couldn't make the decision to let Bullseye kill Fisk and to kill Bullseye in response. His problems would have been over, so he thinks.
Yeah, it would have been a lot cleaner if Bullseye just kind of ate it like back in season 3. But that's not the world we live in. That's not the evolution of the character. Bullseye is always going to be that catalyst for Matt. He's always going to be there. He's like in the comics. He's always fucking his shit up so bad.
So that leads us to the big moments of this episode, which is the gala. Kingpin's gala,
Yeah,
where we see his task force everywhere. People are afraid to
on
talk.
display,
Yeah.
armbands. Yeah,
Yep, and we already talked about some of the moments, such as the BB Urich stuff. Oh yeah, Daniel Blake is now deputy mayor of not social media,
communication.
of communications. Thank you. And was it your prediction that he was going to die this season?
Yeah, Daniel Blake. I thought he was going to because they kind of made a bit of a stink about it. Like they showed it off in one of the episodes where he's like, "I won't fail you again, sir." He's like, "Yeah, I hope you don't." And I think it's that kind of thing where he's gonna build himself up, be part of Fisk's inner circle. But the thing about Fisk is, other than Vanessa, he's not necessarily, and maybe that one guy, what's his name, Buck or whatever. He's not really loyal to anybody outside of that. Like that guy Luca,
Well, there
who,
was the
you know,
guy who Karen Page killed. That she
Wes-
taunted him about in season
Wesley
3.
Weasley.
Yeah, Wesley. That sounds right.
Yeah, okay.
Um, I think what Fisk sees in Daniel Blake is somebody to represent a son, which is something he's expressed. He's wanted that, and he's kind of getting that relationship with him. I could see where your head was. You were thinking this is going to be another Victor Ayala, or was that his name, Victor Ayala? Victor Aguilar, right?
Aguilar. Yeah.
Aguilar from the Penguin. Ayala Aguilar. Get my
Hmm.
get my names confused. But yeah, that's where your head was, I could tell. Where you were like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm going to get attached to this character and then he's just going to die. But
he's just gonna
just
murder
looking at
him.
Daniel Blake, the entire time I'm just like, you know what? I don't give a shit if this guy dies. He sucks. Like the
He's
character, look, I like the character. I like Michael Gandolfini in the role.
Michael Gandolfini's pretty great. Yeah.
The character himself, he's such a bad dude. I don't care if he lives or dies.
He's a brown noser by all means. He's a guy who's attached to a strong man character. He wants to go to bat for this guy, even though this guy has attributed nothing to society other than I will promise to make things better. Which, if you want to talk about the grand scheme of things, is it's a bigger epidemic than anything else, but that's not the time or place to have this kind of conversation. But for Daniel Blake specifically, I noted that I was like, why is this guy so obsessed with this dude? Is it just purely he likes he likes the cut of Fisk's jib, or is is there something else? I made a connection to one of the officers that like Fisk ordered to get killed. I think his name was Christian Blake, and that potentially could be Daniel Blake's father.
Oh,
and it's
wait,
like a
I didn't even
BB.
think about that.
It's like BB's character arc where she knows that Fisk is like the main suspect in her uncle's murder. So is Daniel Blake in the same boat? Are they gonna unite because they're friends? Are they both like, you've killed someone we love, so we're gonna fuck you over?
That seems like it makes sense to me. I'm also like
Yeah.
Officer Powell just made like he was a bad dude before.
Mm-hmm.
Total heel turn this episode. Like he was a bad guy before. He sucked. But now it's
He
just
went
like
from
super villain.
Oh yeah, he went from guy that'll say a slightly racist thing towards you, and he's like in a position of power, you get like a bad jive off of him, to like I'm gonna I'm gonna kill you and then put your fingerprints on the gun, like that kind of dude. He's an asshole. Shoved a guy's hand in a fryer without thinking twice. Like that's some fucked up shit.
Uh, yeah, and that was another big moment this episode. A lot of the other things in the gala were Matt Murdock and Heather just kind of talking about how Matt knows Fisk is a bad guy. Heather doesn't really
Hmm.
believe him, and I don't
And
really
she can't divulge.
I think she has a different interpretation of Fisk specifically because of the marriage counseling appointments. But
Yeah,
like it's so clear that during those appointments they are putting on an act. Like they are. And
they are.
yeah, they're just being a very sanitized version of who they actually are. But the
Well, isn't that the Tony Soprano problem where they can't divulge too much information, otherwise the therapist would have to be in the back of a trunk?
look, I'm gonna get some shit for this. I've never watched The Sopranos.
It's okay. I haven't seen it in full. I've only seen the first season, but
There's so
the
much
cultural
TV to
zeitgeist
watch.
around the show.
There's
Yeah, I know, dude. I
there's
know.
way too
I'm
much.
currently mainlining White Lotus, Severance, and a bunch of other shows all at the same time. It's kind of exhausting. I just watched Mickey 17 3 days ago.
I'm about
Anyway,
to watch that tonight. I
it's
finally
it's so good. It's on my letterbox. I already put my review up. Anyway,
I have that and Novocaine to watch. I haven't watched Novocaine.
oh, that's
yet.
also good.
Yeah.
I've also seen that. Anywho, that's the thing. They are doing a very sanitized version of themselves, and now they're locked in. Like Vanessa murdered her ex-boyfriend right in front of Fisk in a fucked up way to declare her love or reaffirm her love for him. Well, what can you really do with them at this point? And with the revelation later, I don't know if we're necessarily at this point yet, that like maybe she's the one who ordered the attack on Foggy and had Bullseye like swoop in.
Well, that's
That
where
part
we're-
I'm still long clear on.
Yeah, that's where we're getting to. Well, during the gala, it's intercut with after Matt Murdock slams Bullseye's head into that desk a few times. Bullseye has broken a tooth off and uses that to make his escape in one of the coolest. Like everybody knew it was going to happen from the mid-season teaser with the image of him with the tooth in between his mouth. But seeing it happen was so glorious. Oh, the gore from that scene too. Great gore effects.
Where he just laughed. It looked like Michael Myers just escaped prison.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, and then
even though it's pinpointed, with a guy with OCD, you'd think that he wouldn't leave such a mess. But goddamn,
well, he had to get out of there fast.
I know. But also, what bothered me apart of that scene, like the first thing that he does when he gets out of jail is to kill Fisk. Like, not even run, not even get out, like go to a safe house. The first thing that he does is to go try to assassinate Wilson Fisk.
So here's the thing. Fisk was
Okay.
his main target at the end of season 3 of Daredevil. Fisk disappeared after that. Vanessa was running things. Now, did Vanessa, which, as we're about to talk about, Matt thinks that Fisk hired Bullseye to kill Foggy Nelson. Then he learns that it maybe was Vanessa. But did Vanessa do it directly? This is where I'm going to talk about my theory.
Go on.
Who is the only person who knew Foggy was celebrating that night?
Kirsten.
Exactly. And who has been kind of keeping tabs on Matt this entire season without really making big appearances?
Kirsten.
Who's the one that told Matt that Bullseye wanted to meet with him?
McDuffie. Kirsten McDuffie.
I think she is in on it. She's a plant for the Fisks. It seems
Really?
very clear that that's where they're going with this. She introduced Matt and Heather, and then Heather immediately afterwards becomes Fisk's marriage counselor.
And she was involved with Matt and them. She was there at the bar that night. Although that one maybe a little too not unconnected, but maybe he had something on her and he really wants to keep tabs on Matt. So she introduces her to Heather, like you said. Or she introduces him to Heather, like you said. She's also his business partner. So Fisk pretty much has a good idea of where Matt is at all times and what he's doing.
Exactly. And that is kind of her purpose in the show right now. She is the eyes and ears for Fisk to keep tabs on Matt Murdock.
It's a good video idea.
It is a good video idea. I'm pretty sure that that's where they're going with this, though.
I think the way that you spilled it out to me, I think that's definitely going to happen.
All of the evidence seems to be mounting up.
They show it off maybe in season 2. They're probably not going to show it to us in the last episode. Speaking of which, I'm not too sure what's going to happen there, but oof. V. Francesca Ramirez says, my question is, if Bullseye hates Fisk for killing the girl he was obsessed with, why not go for Vanessa?
I don't know. you know what? We don't really know what Bullseye's motivations are quite yet.
Yeah, like in the comics, you can't really tell what he's doing, really. Like, no, who's telling him to do what? He's a very good marksman. He probably won't miss a shot unless, Daredevil, he's shooting at Daredevil. But when it comes to people who hire him, he just kind of does stuff. Like, we still have no idea who hired him.
Yeah, he seems like a more in control version of the character than the one we saw in the Netflix show. I don't know if he's still hung up on the death of, I can't remember her name, but the girl who worked for the suicide hotline. I don't know if he's still hung up on that. I think this might just be more of I'm a hired gun at this point, which is what he is in the comics primarily, but he has an obsession with Daredevil, which another thing, in the comics, he kind of makes the connection that Matt Murdock is Daredevil on his own without ever needing to be told, just because he's intuitive like that.
Yeah, he was a former FBI agent, so he has those natural investigative skills in him. Naturally. So, of course. And he's also a pretty good shot. Like, he can kill a fly with a freaking paperclip.
So the episode ends. Bullseye takes a shot at Fisk. Matt jumps in the way. Fisk and Vanessa leave. Matt
Hmm.
lays on the floor bleeding. We hear his heartbeat while Heather holds him. And cut to black.
Harkening back to Foggy getting shot as well.
Well,
You know, is that
everything in that moment kind of mirrors it. Even the shot of Bullseye's eye in the scope.
I
What did
think
you think
that
of
only
the blue visuals though?
the blue visuals to signify Bullseye, like when he was up there.
Well, just
Yeah, I thought that
we were
was.
seeing a lot of blue lighting, the blue
Oh yeah, the
rose
blue rose.
specifically.
The yeah. I don't really. The thing is, like, I can't really make a connection on what they're like trying to say there. I know the color blue invokes what? Sadness, death. What does it invoke?
I think it's more about the fact that Bullseye's costume is in the comics is blue.
Is that really it?
I'm looking into it right now, so I want to know for sure. I haven't had time to do this today. I've been writing video all day. Benjamin Poindexter's blue lighting represents his unstoppable Bullseye persona surfacing apparently every time he's feeling pressured or ready to let out his violent desires.
Okay. That's a little deep though
The blue hues
for
are also a
people who
nod to his comic book roots. Bullseye's classic comic book costume is blue, contrasting with Daredevil's classic red costume.
makes sense. Especially in the first episode when we see him like highlighted in red. You remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the red lighting when the first episode is ending, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings us to an end about this episode. Next week we have the finale.
The
Do you have any
finale.
big predictions you want to make?
The thing is that I could not have guessed this episode specifically. Next week's episode, my theory kind of stands where it's probably going to end with this doing some kind of thing.
Get that. Try again.
Sorry, my speaker just randomly talked to me. It scared the shit out of me, to be honest. Anyway, so with the finale next week, I think that we're going to see Fisk kind of do something drastic via New York City. His task force has been established. He's starting to really put pressure on like the internals of New York City and everybody in between. So I think that this Bullseye assassination attempt, like my video said, is going to cause Fisk to do something drastic, and Matt is going to have to he's going to have to heal up from the shot. So he might be out of commission for that, but something might happen where he has to fight somebody, maybe Bullseye towards the end. Maybe Bullseye finally dies. Who knows? But
I hope
if
not,
we're coinciding with,
because I want to see Bullseye's costume from the comics.
oh yeah, you want to
feel
see him in the full costume.
Yeah, I do. Which, like, what we saw at the beginning of the season was like closer to that. I want to see the whole
Classic.
costume.
The classic, yeah. Then he's allowed to
Mask
die.
with the crosshair on the forehead.
Then he's allowed to die. Which is like kind of rule. We have to see you in the original costume, then you're allowed to go.
I kind of like the idea though that Bullseye is just this this frequent nuisance to Daredevil.
Yeah, he's his Green Goblin. He's always in his shit constantly.
Well, I'm not even thinking like a Green Goblin. I'm thinking more like a Shocker, where it's just like, oh,
Really?
this guy again. Like, come on,
This asshole. Well, Bullseye is like a little bit more of a like what is essentially no. His Green Goblin's essentially Kingpin. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's more of a shocker. Episode 8 will start with the time jump montage of the task force hunting B-list heroes while the Matt heals, I think.
I could see.
You mean episode 9?
Something like that happening, maybe. But what I think episode 9, we're definitely getting Frank Castle coming back.
Oh yeah.
I said in my video that I don't know if we'd see Matt Murdock fully suit up as Daredevil again. I said that, and then I immediately changed my mind. I was just like, no, they've gotta end this with him in the suit. But
Mhm.
I also I am willing to predict that Karen is going to come back for this episode. She's going to find out Matt was
I,
shot. She's going to show up again.
yeah.
And that's going to lead to her reintroduction in season 2. And I had another big prediction. Well, my big prediction is the Kirsten thing.
Okay. Yeah. We both have our big predictions. Let's see if they pay off in the next episode. Although Kirsten, I think, might be more of a season 2 reveal, while mine is a little bit more.
I think
Could
that
be the
I could see that
catalyst into
being an
season 2.
end of the season cliffhanger. Where she
Oh yeah, definitely.
where Matt doesn't find out, but the audience does, and she's like on the phone with Vanessa or whoever. Because
Watch this it play out exactly the way you're saying it. Like she's on the phone with Fisk, and he's like, "Great job," and then we're like, "Damn it, Zach, you got it down to the wire." Now people are gonna think we have the scripts.
I mean, I did predict the end of that one episode, the one where he suits up as Daredevil again. I predicted that
You did.
shot for shot.
You did. You did. Although that was like that was definitely gonna happen, but you got it shot for shot, which is the part that caught me off guard. I was like, it's gonna happen.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else from this episode that we haven't talked about. I think we covered all of the big stuff. I think we even hit all of the possibilities for what we're going to see next episode. And
Matt's gonna fight somebody.
Matt will fight somebody. Will we see
Yeah,
will we see possibly a hint that Foggy is alive?
possibly.
Could we see a hint that Muse will return?
It's probably gonna be like an end of the. Do Marvel like shows usually do like an end credit scene at the very last episode?
Some of them have. It depends on the show. Some shows have mid-credit scenes in certain episodes. Others don't. There could be one here though. The Netflix shows did not, I believe.
Oh, well, I mean, of course, the Netflix shows wouldn't, but it's Marvel Studios tradition to include an end credit scene, even if it's a bullshit ass credit scene. But if we, yeah, no, I think I'm excited for next week's episode. I'm excited to see where this goes and how we're gonna cap off into the next season. And some shit's about to definitely go down. You don't get like an assassination attempt at a mob boss mayor without like him freaking the fuck out, being like, "He almost killed me," or something like that.
Well, like my whole thing is, what is the new dynamic? Like, what does Fisk think about Matt Murdock taking a bullet for him? Because like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Fisk's
that part he might.
Fisk's what's the word I'm looking for? His I can't think of it right now, but he probably just cannot comprehend that.
Oh no, he's like, "You hated me. Why did you take a bullet for me?" and something like that. He's probably
Wait,
gonna.
before we wrap this up, have you seen the there's a video on Twitter of a guy doing a Wilson Fisk impression and he nails it. It's so good.
I haven't seen it. You're gonna have
Like
to send it to me after
the
this
body
episode's
language
over.
is so exact. It's a great video. And one thing before we go is that in our poll, which I'm ending right now, 81% of the audience said that. I'm sorry, it just changed. No, it's 81%. It's just 36. 81% said this was the best episode of the show so far. 19% said
Nice.
no.
Which means that the showrunners did something pretty great.
Yeah.
You know? Well, I mean, the people post creative overhaul. Not saying the people pre creative overhaul didn't do like an okay job, but I think this is definitely a better direction to take the series.
I'm gonna find the video because the okay. Luckily, I liked it. I'm going to throw it in the chat right now.
Me, I'm gonna just check this out.
It's so good. I love. Even the editing of the video is exactly from the show.
Yeah, he's always just staring out of a window, staring at a wall. He's got him.
It's such a good video. But that is gonna wrap us up for this week of the show the untitled Daredevil Born Again talk show. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We will be back next week with the final episode of the season. And then we have to find out what we're gonna. Maybe we should do like a watch along podcast. Maybe that's what this should turn into. During the off season, we'll like watch Agents of Shield or something like that. I don't want to, but I will.
Last of Us is next week.
I don't want to do a watch along podcast for that. Do you know the type of viewers and people in the comments that we'll get if we start talking about Last of Us?
It's the people that won't shut up from part 2 being like,
yeah,
Joel deserved better. And I'm like, Joel deserved it. Okay? Straight up. He deserved it.
Oh,
I will say that till I die.
In the chat right now. Do you think that the task force caught Dex at the end? Absolutely not. No way.
They left it very ambiguous.
He would have killed all of them to get out of there.
There are a bunch of corrupt cops against a certified sociopath that gives Daredevil a hard time. Yeah, they definitely did not fucking catch him. I think that's the person who Matt's gonna fight at the final episode.
Yeah,
he's gonna beat him down. He's gonna throw him back in prison, probably.
There does need to be another Daredevil Bullseye fight scene, I think. You can't start the show with a Daredevil Bullseye fight scene and not end it with another. There's not another character who is a good physical match for him.
I mean, other than Wilson Fisk and Daredevil, like, doing a punch-out on the roof, but, I don't know. But last time they did that, it was like...
He's the mayor still. He's going to be the mayor in Season 2. I know I'm not going to meta it, but, like, if we're talking about likelihood of events, Fisk is not going to go hand-to-hand with Daredevil.
Oh, no. Absolutely not. He's gonna try to, like, hire up more, like, guys to take him on. Or he's gonna appoint someone as a part of his anti-vigilante task force to, like, combat Daredevil specifically.
I think the thing for next season is that Lily Taylor is joining the cast, and she's playing, like a rival politician that's gonna go after Fisk.
Oh, really?
I think that's I'm pretty sure that's what I read. But, thank you again so much for joining us for another week of this. We look forward
Daredevil
to
discussions.
Daredevil discussions, DD.
Born Again banter.
Thank you for joining us. Next week, finale. You gotta be here. We're gonna discuss it. Maybe we'll do another live watch along. We'll see about that.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think that would probably work out a little bit better than the last one, but we'll talk it over. And if you're interested in more fun live banter while we play some games, tomorrow over on X2, we are starting a playthrough of Schedule 1.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a lot of fun. We've created drinking rules for it, too. So it's going to be a blast. We hope to see you all there. But until then, we will see you later.
See you, everyone.